And I wanted to say one or two last things now that I've gone over all of them. The compound drawables are cool because you can mix and match them any way you want. And you can keep, as long as you can reference the next drawable, you can keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. So you can have a selector where each selected state is a compound layer list, where that layer list is yet another selector. And you can just keep going through this and create these really complicated drawables where all you have to do is reference one drawable, but all of a sudden it handles all these different states. It looks very cool. Like the progress bar, for example, is actually both a layer list and a clip drawable and a shape all in one. Because the progress bar itself is 3 layers on top of itself. Let me go back to that image of it. So it's actually, there's a secondary progress that can sometimes show, which is kind of gray, lighter gray. So you have the gray, a lighter gray, which I don't have shown here, and the yellow. And all of those are created from shape drawables. They're layered on top of each other with a layer list. And then the amount of progress that's shown is used in clip drawable. And so all of that functionality is built into a progress bar, but it's all referenced from one drawable. And the other thing that's really cool is that all drawable XML actually has an in-code representation. In the same way that all views you can access in code, all drawables have an equivalent class that you can use to manipulate them. So that means you can create these dynamically if you want, and you can also manipulate them in the code if you need to change any of them. So for example, gradient becomes a gradient drawable, and you can actually get the drawable out of a view, cast it to gradient drawable, and then change the gradient if you want to. The only exception to that is the animated rotate, which is one of the reasons I don't suggest using it, because you can't actually get to the class. So here's a few resources. The first is the official Android documentation. They have just a list of all of the different drawable XML you can use, and all the different attributes you can use to control them. And now that's pretty nice, and their layout is really useful. Before they came out with that, I actually came up with my own version of the XML documentation, where I just went through the source code and figured out all the different attributes you could use and all the different tags that were renderable. And for all that the Android documentation is great, my documentation is slightly more complete because there's a few things that the Android documentation glosses over. So I'll usually use a mix of the two, just to the Android documentation when I want to understand the basic structure, and then my documentation when I want to look up a particular attribute. And then all of the drawable XML that you saw today in the slides, I put up in a project. So if you want to play around with either this demo code that I showed you or any of the shapes that I put them all in just a GitHub project. Any questions?
When you were talking about the progress bar, you had the thing in the clip, and it doesn't have any attributes because it operates on the level, I assume.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can add your own attributes to clip. In this case, the default was just, it comes with default attributes, so it's good enough for that.
Sure. So I guess my question is, because you said the progress bar basically has 3 layers, the one that never has anything clipped, which is the background, and then the sub progress, and then your full sub progress. How does the clip know to do it horizontally, right? Like if you wanted to make your own, but it was vertical, and you just put it in a clip, would it go left and right? I mean, it doesn't.
I have to look at the documentation. I'm fairly sure that horizontal is the default, which is why they could just get away with that. Let me actually bring up the file which they use for this, and that might make it a bit more transparent what's going on here. So what's interesting, with the progress bar in particular is very complicated, because what they'll do, you can see they've actually put an ID on each of the layers. And when the progress bar is, when you set the amount of progress on a progress bar, it'll actually take the clip drawable for either the secondary progress or the main progress, and then manipulate the level directly there. So that's progress bar kind of, if you want to simulate your own progress bar, you almost have to look at this code and copy it directly, and then use your own assets in there. Like you can, once you're inside the clip, then you can use whatever asset you want. It doesn't have to be a shape. It could be a 9 patch or a static image or something like that. Progress bar is an interesting case, basically. But the actual Let me see. You know, I'm going to just use...
Is there any documentation?
That may have actually been my question from a long time ago, where I asked that question and everybody's like, nope. Yeah, see, there's a clip orientation. I'm guessing the default's horizontal, which is why they could get away with having that
since
thing.
I last looked.
What?
This has gotten a lot better since I last looked.
Yeah. Like I said, this documentation is really pretty, but they leave out a few attributes.
You mentioned the progress spinner being an animated, or the...
It is.
Okay. And so it's not totally supported. That made me think of a problem I ran into recently where my progress spinner works fine on my phone, but on the Honeycomb tablets it doesn't show up at all. I don't know if anyone else has run into that. And
Like a custom progress bar?
no, total stock progress bar. You get a nice little spinner, like in a list view, and it's just completely disappears in Honeycomb. Not there. Works on every other phone.
I guess it depends on how you're referencing it. If you're using the style versus trying to reference the drawable directly.
Yeah, it's just using the XML
Progress?
progress. Yeah.
Did you try using the hollow one?
No.
And the honeycomb holographic stuff?
No, I didn't customize it for Kevin. Oh, it's the same code.
I probably have to see the XML to
Yeah.
figure it out,
I
but
didn't know if anyone else ran into that, but
I do know sometimes when things disappear, they might be off screen.
that might be pushed off screen too.
Keep
Yeah, I
going.
should use the hierarchy view and see what's there.
I'm going to preface this question with I'm not a developer, so it may sound like a fool. But all of the button stuff, you had those 4 XMLs open, one for defining the button, and then the other ones for the styles. Can you put all that in like the styles, your styles XML, so you can reference it for other buttons? Is that what you were doing?
yeah, I mean, in this particular code, I just have, let me find the layout that I use it in. In this one, I'm just setting the background directly, but you can use styles to set up a reference to a drawable, and then apply that style to all buttons that appear in your application. I think there's another. Well, I'm not sure if I can show this to you or not. There's another application where we totally do this, but you can definitely do that.
Okay. And then to get around the animated rotate thing, couldn't you just create 12 different?
You could do that.
12 different.
Yeah. Although what's really cool with the progress bar is that it's really just a circle animation that is rotated. You could use the actual rotate level and I guess set up an automated thing to change it. I don't know. I guess it's probably not too bad to use animated rotate. I just worry a little bit that you can't actually access the class and code. Anything else?
What is maybe, I think you and I talked about this a couple months ago, but there's a bug with the rounded corner references. I don't know if you want to say that or...
Well, that's one of the things my documentation ran across, which is that if you do the rounded corners, you can either define it one of 2 ways. You can either say have every corner rounded like 10 pixels or something, or you can say round this corner by 10 pixels, this other corner by 20, this other corner by something else. And it turns out that I think it's the bottom right and the bottom left corners are actually swapped. There's actually just a bug in the code, such that if you say, give me 10 pixels on this corner and 20 pixels on the other, it'll actually just be the opposite ones.
That was I think that was in a specific version of the SDK. They swapped them. Like I think 2.3.4 or something like that.
So you can create
I think they've actually just kept that as a bug though, because I mean, then they would.
It's gonna screw up everyone.
It would screw up everyone else if they fixed it in a later version. So it's kind of a problem that they have for all eternity now. So I guess until there's not enough users of whichever SDK that last had it. Oh no, but they keep introducing new SDKs. Yeah. So
well limited tower.
yeah.
They can introduce a compatibility library for it.
Yeah, and there's also one other thing that I've never gotten to work before, but they claim works, which is with the gradient drawable, they have actually a start color, an end color, and a center color, and I've never gotten the center color to work right.
I was going to ask you if they only have 2 colors for gradients.
Yeah, theoretically you should be able to do a 3-color gradient, but it never came out the way I wanted it to. It certainly does something, I'm just not exactly sure what it's doing. So,
Can you put weight on? Excuse me. Can you put weight on those colors so that if you've got red to blue, the red takes up 3/4 of it before it
Position.
The
transitions?
center X and Y?
yeah.
Oh, yep.
It's interesting though, the center color's an integer, whereas the start color and end color.
Oh, that's because they're integers because they're either a color directly, like as in hash a number, so let me bring up the so as you can see on the right, it has just a direct reference to the 2 different colors. I think you can also reference them as, at color,
Yeah.
whatever. But
I think that's a good point though. In the documentation, the center color is an integer. The other 2 are colors.
Right.
that's interesting. Maybe that is
Maybe that's why you're having problems.
Yes. I wonder if that would mean something else.
that could be it actually.
Because like in code, there's 2 ways to reference colors, and
Yeah.
they're both integers. One's just an ID, and one's
Yeah, it's like, is it the resource? Or
yeah,
the
one's a
ID of
resource ID, and the
resource?
other one's something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically when you're defining stuff, attributes like this, you can define whether it's supposed to be a resource or just an integer or just a number. Attributes are a whole other ballgame.
Is there a way to modulate alpha stuff like the transparency?
Oh yeah, yeah. We can. Typically, the transparency can be modified with. Are you talking about straight colors or of like a bitmap?
I was thinking of straight colors.
Of straight colors, you can define them as with alpha, red, green, and blue. So most of the time, you just define them red, green, blue. So 250 red, 5 green, 2 blue. You can also define the alpha of it as well. So
I was thinking of a gradient where what you were moving was the alpha. So it became more and more transparent, side to side.
yeah, we can try that. Let's see how that works out.
Yeah, give it the same color to change the alpha channel on.
Yeah, exactly. So because this is a shorthand, if you're gonna do a really simple color, you only need four hexadecimal values. But it allows you to do the whole spectrum if you extend that out to 2-digit hexadecimal values. So yeah, there you go. It's going from one alpha of the same color to the next in the gradient.
Cool.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
We're building a progress bar now.